Hello, Newsmark viewers. How are you doing? I hope you are healthy and well. As the Newsmark team, we continue to share with you the developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. We will soon share with you a very critical development on the front line. The developments regarding the inadequacy of the Russian air defense systems are now clearly known by many of you. However, despite knowing these facts and developments, there are still events that surprise us. The issue is that the Russian armed forces are still deploying fighter jets close to the border areas. This event sounds quite strange, doesn't it? Despite all the destruction, it seems that the Russian armed forces have not wised up. In recent days, Russia has been shaken by another destruction news. As it is known, the Russian Federation has a fighter jet that it is claimed to be the fifth generation. The fighter jet is the Su-57, and it is also claimed that the Su-57 fighter jets are only available in a certain quantity and mass production that cannot be carried out due to the problems in the supply of parts. So at this very point, the Ukrainian armed forces organized an incredible operation against the Russian Air Force. And in this operation, an Su-57 fighter jet of the Russian armed forces was successfully destroyed. So what are the developments regarding this matter? Let's take a look together. Before moving on to our report, I would like to make a small reminder. As the Newsmark team, we strive to bring you developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily reports and explanations. I also read all of your comments on our videos. Please continue to share your ideas about our content on the comments with us and tell us in the comments what content you would like to see on the Newsmark channel. Let's start if you are ready. Newsmark reports. The Ukrainian resistance against the relentless occupation launched by the Russian army has been going on for almost 2.5 years. So the Ukrainian armed forces, which continue the resistance with great seriousness despite all the difficult conditions, continue to make moves that surprises the Russian army every day and demoralize the Russian army. Especially critical attacks behind the front line are of a great importance here. As we have mentioned in many of our previous reports, the Ukrainian armed forces are very careful to cause economic damage to Russia while achieving their strategic goals in this war. A war is also in a strong economy. If there is no strong economy, there can be no success in war. We see this more clearly these days, and the Ukrainian attacks, especially behind the front line, confirms this. Just recently, Russia also suffered heavy economic losses in the succession of oil refinery attacks. So these efforts of the Ukrainian armed forces have now taken on a different dimension. Let us put it this way. Air power is very important for an army, especially in an active war. The Ukrainian armed forces were inadequate in this respect when the war started. However, innovative moves paved the way for the Ukrainian army to overcome this inadequacy. The Russian army, on the other hand, was confident in its air power and considered it sufficient. But this air power was only dangerous in the air. But what about its return to the base? This is where the innovative approach of the Ukrainian armed forces came into its own. The Ukrainian armed forces broke new ground in the history of warfare by using unmanned aerial vehicles in the operational activities in an active war. Recently, there has been a great development in this regard. Recently, Ukrainian intelligence shared an incredible development with the public. With the sharing of this development, there was a great panic in Russia, even more than panic, anger, fear, and sadness. In fact, the war supporters were experiencing these three emotions together because the Ukrainian armed forces had achieved a very important success with their operation. An Su-57 fighter jet belonging to the Russian army was destroyed at a Russian airbase by drones of the Ukrainian armed forces. Making a statements on the subject, Ukrainian intelligence used the following statements. We managed to destroy a Sukhoi Su-57 fighter jet of the Russian airbase at the Akhtubinsk airfield, 365 miles from the Ukrainian border. Our armed forces continue to attack the targets of the invaders with all their might and will continue to do so. No Ukrainians or people of the free world should lose faith in the end of the occupation, and as long as the struggle continues, there is hope. Your faith only strengthens the resolve of the heroes of this struggle. Initially, Russian sources did not comment on this incident. It was only when local sources began to report on this that there was a great panic, and the Russian leadership and the Russian war leadership had no chance to hide this such as catastrophe. Russian sources were already ready. This development would be announced because hiding it was of no use to anyone. As a result, fighter bomber published the first confirmation from Russian sources. The following statements were used in the news. Ukrainian drones attacked the airbase in Akhtubensk yesterday, and 3 of them reached the airbase. The 5th generation Su-57 fighter jet was seriously damaged. The Russian source fighter bomber tries to hide the destruction by making such statements. However, images from the area clearly showed the destruction of the fighter jets. Russia had again suffered a major loss, and this was also the first Su-57 loss during the war. Russia had lost one of its 5th generation fighter jets, which is still had not shared and started mass production of the airbase. And it was a day of the tragedy for the Russian Air Force, but for the Ukrainian armed forces, it was a day of a great victory. This tragic loss of the Russian Air Force came as a great shock, and it raised some issues again. Yes, the air defense systems. As you know, air defense systems, we have a lot of agenda about the Russian air defense systems. These air defense systems are constantly criticized because there is an obvious situation. Russian air defense systems cannot fully fulfill any of their missions, and in the incident in question, 3 drones belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces crossed the border, crossed a distance of 365 miles without any obstacle, and destroyed one of the most valuable equipment belonging to the Russian army at its own airbase in its Russian territory. Meanwhile, Russian air defense systems do not take any action to prevent this attack. From this point of view, it is clear how big the problem of Russia's air defense system is. There is a lot of criticisms about this, and especially Russian war supporters heavily criticize the Russian administration on this issue. The Russian administration continues to remain silent about these criticisms. However, this silence means accepting the rightness of the criticisms. But if the Russian government continues with this silence, it seems that it will face a big internal front against it. So I want to know, what do you think? How do you think the moves of the Ukrainian armed forces towards Russian territory should be evaluated? And what do you think about the destruction of the Russian Su-57 fighter jet? What are the economic consequences of these attacks? And how do you assess the Ukrainian armed forces' attacks on the Russian economy? Specify it in the comments, because you know that I read and I care a lot about all of your comments.